Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your patience. The time is 1:05, and we will resume the public portion of this meeting. Mr. Saeed, can you please announce the next agenda item?
Next up on the agenda is approving the minutes of both the Commission's open and executive sessions held on May 1st, 2025, and the executive session minutes from April 3rd, 2025. The minutes have been shared with the members of the Commission prior to this meeting.
Thank you. If there are no edits or changes needed, is there a motion on the meeting minutes?
So, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso moves to approve the meeting minutes.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Nash. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of adopting the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion passes.
The next item on the agenda is the Chair's report.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'll start off with some pretty important significant developments for the commission. Today is sadly the last board meeting for two of our commissioners, our Vice Chair Delgado and Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Having been with the commission since its inception in April of 2021, both commissioners have contributed greatly to not just the substantive work that we have done at the commission, but also to the community that we've built internally. So I want to recognize both of you and really give you thanks and flowers for all of the work that you've done. Vice Chair Delgado, you have been a staunch advocate for businesses in the cannabis industry. One thing that we at the commission know very well about Sam is that he always has a story to tell. And I call them Sam's stories, and I love Sam's story time. But they always reveal something new about you. So I'm really grateful to have heard your time about riding the New York City subway as an 8-year-old alone across the Bronx, meeting James Earl Jones, and your time overseas as a Marine. Your stories bring fun and levity to our daily life at the commission, and they will be greatly missed. Commissioner Del Cid Coso, your advocacy for the medical patients and veterans and diversity and inclusion. And both of you have actually been regular, consistent advocates for inclusion of our military family and our military community in the cannabis industry, both on the medical side and the adult use side. You brought our first CRC baby, and you also bring like a really radiant presence to the commission. So we'll miss you. I'll miss you greatly. Miss seeing your smile and your calming presence. And I know I don't make it easy. I haven't made it easy for both of you at times, but the blood, sweat, and tears that you each have poured into this work really has helped shape New Jersey's cannabis industry. And so I'm grateful to you two, the memories that we've created together as a board and all the work that we've done for our New Jerseyans, both for business owners, consumers, and patients alike. So I wish you well on your next adventures, even though you'll be leaving us in the dust, but you will always have a home for you here at the Cannabis Regulatory Commission. So thank you for all the work that you two have done. And before I give the floor over to you two for remarks, I want to open it up to my other commissioners to say any words.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm very sad. I will be very candid. When you work so closely together as we have over 4 years, you become friends with each other. And I consider Commissioner Del Cid and Vice Chair Delgado to be dear friends, and this won't be goodbye. Business-wise, Sam and I have gone back and forth on me in terms of or my the initiatives that I support, whether it's batch sizes or labor, and the impacted costs on cannabis businesses. And Sam, being the business person he is, would keep me in check at times, and we'd have really productive discussions. And I value his expertise and knowledge in that area. As for Commissioner Del Cid Coso, she is a strong patient advocate. She is a policy expert, and we've had some very deep discussions on the medicinal program, and she's drawn from her past experience, and I too value that greatly. There's really not much more I can say, except I will miss their presence in the office tremendously, and I wish you both all the best.
Thank you.
Okay. So I am new to the group, but my joining the group, I felt really welcomed by all of you. Sam is the one who comes and knocks on my door. Hey, girl, what are you doing? But, I want to thank you both. You have been that integral part who laid the strong foundation that the CRC now sits on and that I have joined, and you will be missed. But as you take on your new life adventures, I wish you the best. And for those people who will eventually join us on this board, I want them to join us and continue the building blocks that you guys have laid so that we have something to function on and so that the CRC can be the best that it is intended to be. And thank you guys for pouring into me, the little bit of time that you have had to pour into me. I'm sure I will ask questions of Sam while he still sits here, but I want to wish you the best in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. And so then I'll give the floor to, we'll start with Commissioner Del Cid Coso, and then we'll have the Honorable Vice Chair have the last word.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for those kind words from all of you. I'm really going to miss, sitting here, listening to our advocates and the audience. You guys hold us accountable, and that's a great thing because this is how we get the work done, working together. But first and foremost, I have to say that I am very privileged to have served in this position. And I'd like to thank Governor Phil Murphy for entrusting me with the honor of serving the people of New Jersey. I'm glad that I was able to share the responsibilities with all of you, starting with your leadership, Madam Chair, Vice Chair Delgado, Commissioner Nash, Commissioner Mapp, and former Commissioner Barker. Your dedication, collaboration, and integrity have inspired me every day, and I've been very fortunate to learn from each of you, both personally and professionally. So I do leave here with lifelong friendships, and thank you for that. Establishing a brand new agency was no small task, and I think we can all agree on that. And laying the foundation of this commission would not have been possible without the dedication and hard work of our staff, who consistently rose to every challenge with commitment and resilience. This team is the driving force behind making the CRC an emerging national model for building an inclusive cannabis marketplace from the ground, an accomplishment that we should all be proud of. I want to thank Acting Executive Director Riggs for his leadership and for stepping up when we needed you the most. Thank you. To our patients, stakeholders, legislative partners, and community leaders, thank you for your continued engagement, your honest dialogue, and your shared commitment. Your input, advocacy, and partnership have been vital to our collective success. While I am stepping away from this role, I'm not stepping away from public service. I look forward to continuing to serve in a new capacity, carrying with me the lessons, experiences, and relationships built during my time here. So this isn't a goodbye. It is simply a see you later. Finally, I leave this role with gratitude, with pride in what we've accomplished together, and with optimism for what lies ahead. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
And I promised you that I wasn't going to cry today.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid Coso, and Vice Chair Delgado.
Well, thank you, Chairwoman Wainu. And I'm glad you mentioned memories because memories and shared experiences are what forms relationships. And I think all four of us have establish good relationships. So thank you. So I submitted my resignation. I'm leaving a year early. I submitted my resignation back in March because I have future plans, and I wanted to get out. I wanted to leave a little early in order to accomplish some of those plans that I had in mind. So today marks my final meeting as the vice chair and commissioner of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission. I had a lot, there was a lot in my mind. There was a lot I wanted to say, but I promise you, Chairwoman Wayne, I won't take too much time. I think it's been an extraordinary honor to serve alongside such dedicated public servants as yourself and the rest of the commission, be part of building something from the ground up, something that will impact lives and communities, and also our state's economy for years to come. When I joined the commission, I brought with me the experience of 50 years of work in the military, in business, and community volunteerism. I tried to apply all these lessons in this commission and service to the people of New Jersey. As I've told Chairwoman Wayne many times, I've seen this movie before. Yes, absolutely. Together, we've tackled tough issues. We've navigated uncharted waters, and we worked to build a regulatory framework rooted in equity, public health, and economic opportunity. However, I leave with a word of caution, and that is you cannot regulate every human interaction. I think you've heard me say that before. Well-meaning government efforts, if not reviewed, tested, and debated, can carry unintended consequences. I think you've heard me say that before. It could stifle innovation and ultimately disempower the very people they aim to protect. Overburdening regulation disproportionately favors large companies and who can absorb compliance costs, bureaucratic delays, creating an uneven playing field. I saw this over and over again in the amount of time it took license applicants to get off the ground and open. I see it now in the attempt to increase the social equity excise fee to $30. So our job as regulators is not to control every corner of the market, but to create clear, fair rules ex-director Jeff Brown, who's not here. He needs to be recognized. And also our former chief of staff, Kelly Anderson, director of compliance, Paul Irvich, our acting executive director, Chris Riggs, who's there, director of licensing, Megan Tagliafieri, our director of communication. I know she's not here, but Christina, if you can give her my regards. Tony Ann Blake, Director of Diversity and Inclusion, Wesley McKnight. Our Chief Counsel is David Toussaint. Our current Chief of Staff, Dorian Stanley. And someone that gets not enough recognition in my, I feel not enough recognition. That's our Director of Labor. I don't know if he's here. Bill Wallace. So I want to thank all you, the entire staff, and please acting executive director, give my regards to the entire staff. I've mentioned them. And also the stakeholders, I want to thank you all for your collaboration and your challenge and your commitment. I think I leave proud, I'm leaving proud of the work we've done and confident in the commission's continued success. Chairwoman Wainu, thank you for this opportunity. If I talked a little bit too much, mala suerte.
Oh, good. Thank you so much,
You-
Honorable Vice Chair Delgado
Yeah.
and Commissioner Del Cid Coso. I want to give them their flowers one last time, throw a round of applause for the work that you've all done. So turning now to some more cannabis related items. The month of June marks the celebration and remembrance of two very important historical moments. Next week, we celebrate Juneteenth, the time when the last enslaved people were informed of their emancipation. But as we celebrate the restoration of enslaved people's freedom, we must also remember the ways in which the legal system was weaponized against Black people after slavery. This includes the national political efforts that explicitly targeted Black communities for substance use, cannabis among them. Here in New Jersey, past disproportionate arrests for marijuana possession left Black communities facing disproportionate collateral consequences stemming from those arrests. And while New Jersey's 2020 ballot question to legalize cannabis undoubtedly changed how Black people could engage with cannabis a bit more freely, it must be underscored that justice for Black communities isn't just about making changes to the criminal justice system. Across the country, Black voices insisted that cannabis legalization be paired with economic, health, and social justice for Black communities. I am proud that the policies implemented by the Cannabis Regulatory Commission have advanced those efforts. We prioritize people with prior marijuana convictions. And we continue to use our platform to tackle the lingering stigma of safe and responsible cannabis use. The Commission will continue to do its part to advance equity for Black people and indeed for everyone in the cannabis industry. June is also Pride Month, so happy Pride. And we must also equally recognize the intersection of cannabis legalization and LGBTQ plus issues that goes back decades. The LGBTQ plus community in particular helped the availability of medicinal cannabis for patients facing serious health conditions. Decades ago, many in the LGBTQ plus community turned to cannabis for relief from serious medical conditions, notably HIV and AIDS. Facing unique headwinds in mainstream society, their gender or sexual identity, HIV or AIDS positive status, as well as being a cannabis user, individuals in this community played leading roles in the national recognition of the medicinal benefits of cannabis. As a result, the federal government recognized the beneficial medical use of cannabis when it approved 2 drugs for treating symptoms of HIV and AIDS in 1992 and 2016. And New Jersey included HIV and AIDS as qualifying medical conditions at the outset of establishing its medicinal cannabis program. Even years later, Black people, LGBTQ plus individuals, and cannabis users still face negative stigmas in many parts of America, including here in New Jersey. But I want to take this time to thank all 3 of these communities for their commitment, and their courage and activism in fighting for a fairer and more open world, one rich in beauty, color, culture, and flair. That concludes my chair's report for today.
The next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report.
Director Riggs, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very tough act to follow. I agree with all of those sentiments that Chair Wainu just raised. And I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Commissioner Del Cid Coso and Commissioner Delgado for their service. You know, the movie in my head shows us building a plane, while flying it. There were 5 of you, maybe 5 staff members in the beginning when I served as chief counsel, and we got this thing up and running, and now we're flying that plane, and it couldn't have been done without you guys. So really appreciate the wisdom, the knowledge, the conversations that we've had. I'll never forget them, and I view you both as friends, and please don't be strangers, and I wish you all the best in the future. And now I will get into a bunch of data today. We're going to be doing our quarterly reporting data. So bear with me. Usually our Office of Diversity and Inclusion Director McWhite handles this portion, but I will handle it today and report out to the best of my ability. It won't be as good as Wes's report. Today, the first slide is an update on dispensary openings. We have new recreational dispensaries opening every day. We have a list of them up there. We can leave the slide up for a second, but we have close to 250 medicinal and recreational dispensaries open in all the 21 counties in New Jersey. Our licensing update, total licenses approved as of May 22nd of 2025. A little less than 3,000 applications have been submitted to our Office of Licensing. 2,300 of those applications have been approved by this board. There are 76 applications that are under review in our Office of Licensing and 54 applications under review in the Office of Compliance and Investigations. Another licensing update on total recreational licenses approved, so our adult use licenses. A little over 1,600 conditionals, 444 conditional annual conversions, 257 annuals, 83 expanded alternative treatment centers for a grand total of 355 total operating licenses and permits in the cannabis industry. And if you look at the conditionals, they're basically annual licenses. So we have upwards, to 700 licenses that have the municipal approval that could open. So the cannabis industry is looking very good. Up today, applications up for consideration. We have 4 conditional to annual conversions. We have 9 annual licenses and 10 annual license renewals. And we always talk about the patients. So our current patient enrollment numbers as of May 15th of 2025, we're a little over 60,000 patients in the medicinal program, a little over 4,000 caregivers, and 1,500 doctors. Now for the sales and pricing update. So here we have medicinal and recreational sales put out through Q2 of 2024 to Q1 of 2025. Medicinal sales are starting to flatten out at about 16 million in sales in Q1 of 2025. They're starting to flatten out. We're starting to see less of a reduction in our patient numbers. So we do anticipate those sales flattening out. You see that in Q1, our recreational sales are a little lighter. But that's expected. That's the seasonality of buying. They're a little lighter than they were in Q4. Q4 is a big quarter with the holidays and things like that. These are adult use sales by month. We went all the way back to March of 2024 to show that in March in 2025, there was 22% market growth. The interesting thing there is in March of 24, we had 110 retail establishments where cannabis was available. And in March of 2025, we now have 230 roughly retail establishments that are available, but we still saw 22% market growth. Adult use bud and flower pricing per gram were under $10. In March of 2024, we were over $11, almost $12, and now we're under $10. It's a decrease of about $2.43 per gram in the adult use market. Medicinal cannabis bud and flower pricing didn't reduce as much. It was a little over $10 in March of 2024, but it is under $9. So it's $8.96 per gram, which is about a $1.34 decrease in pricing over a year. Here's our sales use mix by product category. And just so everybody knows, this report will be available. We'll have it online. Everybody will be able to see this, especially the quarterly data report. These slides will be made available after the public meeting. But not much of a change in our sales use mix. We're still seeing bud and flower and pre-rolls dominate the market. They have about 51% share of the market in product type, and that continues to be consistent. And now we'll get into the quarterly data report, and I'm going to do my best to act like Director McWhite. So the quarterly data report today encompasses Q1 of 2025 And the full report will be made available online with all the other reports on our website underneath that resource tab. So if we could go to the next slide, please. And we're going to first go with awardee application data. So this is diversely owned businesses and social equity business awardees. There have been a total of 604 annual licenses awarded to these categories. Now, it's good to note that social equity businesses can also be diversely owned businesses, so there is some crossover, there is some overlap. But the one thing to note is that we have awarded an additional 41 annual licenses in Q1 of 2025, which is increasing our SEB annual license awardees by 11 and increasing our diversely owned businesses by 30. So we did see an increase. For social equity status, awards by social equity status. These licenses, social equity businesses have past marijuana convictions or economically disadvantaged areas, and we've increased our number of awarded SEBs by 19 with an increase of 8 additional approved annuals and 3 additional conversion to annuals and 8 conditionals in this social equity status. Next slide, please. This slide shows majority ownership awardees with prior marijuana convictions. So we were able to break down the data to show people that were harmed by past marijuana criminalization, and we were able to look at that data. What we've awarded is an additional 13 licenses in this area with prior marijuana convictions, with an additional 6 annuals, 3 conversions, and 4 conditionals. This is the largest increase in social equity awards issued to individuals with prior marijuana convictions. So this would be the largest increase quarter over quarter for folks that fall into that category. Now, quarterly data benchmarks. The first slide is going to be micro businesses. The benchmark there that is in law is 25% of our licenses have to be awarded to micro businesses. We are at 35% of our licenses that are awarded. So we are a plus 10% on our benchmark for micro businesses. So small businesses are getting to market, and there's more data to support that later in this presentation. Next slide. Same thing here for diversely owned benchmark data. Minority owned, there's about 1,089. It's 48% of our licenses. That benchmark's 15%, so we're plus 33% in that benchmark. And then women or disabled veteran-owned businesses, a little less than 1,000, which is 44% of our licenses, with another 15% benchmark, plus 29%. This is a comparison that Wesley gave to me. It's an update from ODI with diversely owned comparisons in marijuana business ownership. So the yellow is the national average for marijuana business or cannabis businesses. Minority-owned businesses, we have about 48%, and the national average is 19% in cannabis businesses. And then you see for the women-owned businesses, we have a 41%, and the national average is 16%. Standalone operational adult use businesses that are licensed under the CREAM Act. So these are all the businesses that are licensed under the CREAM Act. You'll see since Q4 of 2024, we've seen an additional 14 cultivators, 10 manufacturers, 17 retailers, 2 new delivery licenses, and 1 additional testing lab that have become operational and opened up their doors. That's an additional 44 businesses who have opened in the first 2 quarters of this year. So businesses are starting to open up. This slide gives a breakdown of race and ethnicity for our standalone businesses that were issued a license under our adult use regulations under the CREAM Act. You'll see the breakdown there. A majority of our operational businesses identify as white. However, an additional 9 Black businesses have opened their doors, and an additional 9 Hispanic or Latino businesses have opened their doors in this last quarter. That was our largest quarter-to-quarter increase in operational Black and Hispanic-owned businesses. So really congratulations to all of them, and I'm glad to see that those numbers are going up. Sales for open business by type. And this is something that this is some data that is new for us. This is a repeat of the slide about adult use sales by month from March of 24 to March 25, just to set the table to show there was a 22% increase in sales figures and dollar sales over that time. And you're going to see in the next couple slides how we broke it down. So this is similar breakdown of March of 2024, March of 2025, but we're talking about social equity businesses alone. So in March of 2024, they only did $5.6 million in sales. In March of 2025, they did $9 million in sales, which represents a 61% increase in market share for social equity businesses. The total sales by month, again, this is for economically disadvantaged areas. So these would be social equity businesses, economically disadvantaged areas. This is a big increase. We saw $1.5 million, $1.5 million in March of 2024 in dollar sales. And then in March of 2025, we saw $3.7 million. So that's a 145% increase, which shows me that the priority review and folks getting their applications in and being reviewed and opening up just under our adult use regulations, that stuff's working. So we are getting these priority applications up and operational. This is for small businesses, so micro businesses, which is the category. In March of 2024, it was 3.2 million. It was over 8 million in sales for these small micro businesses, which is another 143% increase. And, you know, they're getting the market and they're grabbing their share of the market. So it's good to see. This is the same slide with diversely owned businesses. You have in March of 2024, you have $18 million in sales. And then in March of 2025, $38 million in sales, which is a 109% increase. And minority-owned businesses, same thing here with in March of 2024, 9.6 million. And then in March of 2025, 21.5 million, which is a 123% increase in sales for these minority-owned businesses. And then this is the one we broke down on criminal history. So these are folks, you know, ownership where they've had some kind of involvement with past marijuana, criminalization, and they had a criminal history. In March of 2024, we had $2.7 million in sales attributed to that cohort. And then in March of 2025, $5.2 million, which is a 95% increase in dollar sales over that time period. And here we have one for women-owned businesses. Women-owned businesses had $13.3 million in dollar sales in March of 2024. And in March of 2025, $27.8 million in sales, a 108% increase in dollar sales for that type of business. And that completes my quarterly data report. Again, as a reminder, there will be more data available as part of this report. We will make it available on our website. My comms director would not like me to tell you that it's available now, but it will be available soon. So please check our website and we will make that available as soon as we can.
Policies and our industry reflects what our efforts.
Yeah.
I think this is something that also I believe that in the past it may have been former Commissioner Barker who had been interested in seeing this kind of information. So I'm glad we're able to make it available, publicly available. So thank you for that, Director Riggs, and in absentia, Director of Business and
thank Director McWhite and Director of Data, Len Terranova, for pulling all those data pieces together. I think it shows that all of us, including you five, are doing really good work. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda are consideration of committee reports.
Thank you. So today we have just one committee report from the Permitting and Licensing Committee. So for this, I will turn it over to that committee chair, Commissioner Del Cid Coso.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, my last report, here we go. First thing first, extension request from the months of April through May of 2025. We've issued 21 conditional license extensions. I do want to remind people to submit their extension request 15 days prior to the expiration date. That's very critical. And I have the pleasure of serving in this committee with Commissioner Nash. So she's going to be taking over once I leave. Second of all is I just want to present some of the recommendations of the committee is putting forward. So this committee began to explore ways to enhance the license and permit renewal process. I want to say about last year. After many conversations with board members and staff, the committee agreed on the following. The first one is in addition to the required attestation form, we're going to require that businesses submit a new entity disclosure form to the CRC. The information requested in item 7, which is on the form, that regards managers, staff members, and employees will not be required in this case. In addition to that, the attestation should be amended to remind businesses of their duty to notify the commission of any changes. That includes ownership changes, physical plant changes, etc. And that failure to do so may result in enforcement actions. The second recommendation the committee is putting forward is that our Office of Compliance and Investigations reports the full compliance history of the business from the past 2 to 3 years. This report will contain information about serious or repeat complaints received, notice of violations issued, whether corrective action plans are implemented, and whether the fine or penalty issued by the CRC was paid. All this information is very critical so that the board can make informed decisions when it comes to the renewal process. The third one is, as required by the CREAM Act, all cultivators must submit documentation about their electrical and water usage. This data could be utilized for future assessments focusing on environmentally friendly business practices. The committee is recommending reviewing similar documentation requirements in other industries and jurisdictions before developing our own. And the last one, which is very critical when it comes to our labor peace agreements. And I want to thank Commissioner Nash for sharing her thoughts on this item. Under the CREAM Act and the HONIC Act, maintaining an LPA is an ongoing condition of licensure. The committee is recommending that the CRC request that as part of the renewal process, a bona fide labor organization submits an attestation stating whether 1, it meets the criteria for being a bona fide labor organization, 2, it has indeed entered into an LPA with the licensee, and 3, that the union is complying with this end of the agreement. So those are the recommendations that the committee is putting forward after having several conversations with staff. And again, I want to thank the board members for their input and for Chairwoman Ueno, who was leading these discussions with board members last year when you were sitting on the committee. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Coso. Are there any questions from the board for the committee?
I just
Commissioner
have a
Nash.
comment on the attestation. I believe that there was a certification from both the business and the unions. Is that accurate?
Yes, so there will be an attestation from both the business and the licensee. I'm sorry, yeah, the union and the licensee.
That they are complying with the labor provisions.
Correct.
Okay.
So they will be submitting those to the CRC.
Thank you.
As requested.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that committee report and all the work that you have done on the permitting and licensing committee. Good. Mr. Said?
The next item on the agenda are consideration of public notices and publications.
For this, we'll start with the 2024 annual report. So the audit committee is charged with developing the annual report adopted by the commission. It combines the regulatory and operational activities related to both medicinal and adult use cannabis. So I want to thank Director Riggs for his assistance in meeting my ambitious goal of getting caught up on these annual reports. We have now finally, the board has now finally adopted annual reports from all those prior missing years, dating back to 2018, I believe. And now with this annual report, we'll be combining both our medicinal and our annual adult use activities into one report annually going forward. So by law, some of the required components of the annual report include information about the medicinal cannabis program, the licenses that have been issued, and demographic data on some of the businesses. So all of the wonderful quarterly data that Director McWhite and Director Riggs present on, that will also be included in the annual report, and just a summary of some of our major activities that are not so easily represented in quantitative data. Next slide, please. So just a small sampling of some of the information that you will actually see in the annual report. In 2024, we issued 197 new operational licenses. There were just over 6,000 industry employees, and our medicinal cannabis program saw 67,000 active patients and a little over 4,500 active caregivers. When it comes to the sales in 2024, the medicinal cannabis sales totaled just under $84 million. On the adult use sale side, those sales totaled to about $1 billion. And we also included some notes about our stakeholder engagement. So those of you who have been consistently engaged and staying up to date with what the commission is doing, you'll remember that last year we held a series of listening sessions on the licensing process, on packaging and labeling, on patient access. And our staff also held 12 medicinal cannabis program registration clinics to help patients and caregivers enroll in or renew their enrollment in the medicinal program. So that's just a small taste of some of the stakeholder engagement that we took on last year. More details are listed out in the annual report, but that is a brief summation of what our 2024 annual report includes as presented by the audit committee. So are there any questions for the audit committee from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the report.
Second.
Vice Chair Delgado moves to approve the 2024 annual report. Commissioner Del Cid Coso seconds. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
We then have the report on the social equity excise fee that we do every year. So for this, I will turn it over to Vice Chair Delgado, who sits on the Public Engagement and Education Committee.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman. It's a pleasure to present my fourth year running of the social equity excise fee report, along with this year's public recommendations. So we can go, who's doing the slides? Well, let's go to slide number 2. So real quickly about the CRC, the commission officially launched on April 12th, 2021, and has been working ever since to straighten the municipal cannabis program and to establish the new adult use cannabis market. As of May 30th, 2025, 2,871 recreational cannabis applications have been submitted by the public. Across all license categories, 2,076 or 70% of the awardees are diversely owned businesses, and 741 or 25% of the awardees are social equity business. Again, that's as of May 30th. Next slide. What is the social equity excise fee about? The social equity excise fee is a per ounce flat rate fee assessed on all cannabis cultivated and sold in New Jersey's adult cannabis market. As a result of reductions in the average price of cannabis, the social equity excise fee rate for 2025 was voted on, and as of January 2025 was adjusted to $2.50 per ounce, up from $1.24 in 2024. Again, the CEF is collected from cannabis cultivators when they sell or transfer products to other licensee classes. The social equity excise fee is estimated to generate $6,500,000 in fiscal year 2025, and the New Jersey CRC projects a $2.50 per ounce social equity excise fee will bring in roughly $11.5 million in fiscal year 2026. By law, 15% of the generated revenue, or $975,000, is required to be deposited into the underage deterrence and prevention account, leaving $5,500,000 in the fiscal year 2025 to potentially spend on recommended programs. Next slide. So by statutory mandate, what are we required to report? So these are the requirements here up on the slide. 3 regional public hearings are required, and recommendations for funding of financial assistance, impact zones, educational and economic opportunities, and community health. I want to thank Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Barker for honchoing the 3 regional hearings that were required statutorily. Thank you. Public engagement process. In February 2025, the Commission's Public Engagement and Education Committee held 3 virtual public hearings to solicit input from New Jersey's residents on how to fund from the tax revenue, the cannabis tax revenue, and which should be allocated by the legislative according to the CREAM Act. So again, the Commission does not allocate. We just make recommendations, okay? 13 speakers were involved, 12 written comments submitted, and we were promoted the hearings through all of New Jersey CRC's channels, and videos are available on our website. So if you want to see what they look like and what the comments were, you're more than welcome to come to the website and see them yourselves. Public recommendations were in 4 categories. Very quickly, these are the 4 ones: economic and community development, criminal justice reform and reinvestment, workforce development and youth services, and public health. So let's go over the economic community development. Public input suggested using revenues to provide continued and additional access to capital for diversely owned and social equity businesses. And we found that year over year, that's been a constant trend. Additional funding through grants and loans for the New Jersey Economic Development Corporation authorities. Cannabis equity program was recommended. Also, grant funding for social equity businesses is crucial to help the fledgling businesses break the cycle of poverty and allow those affected by disparate criminal justice practices to enter the industry. And again, that's always been suggested in the past 4 years, and that's been really key on how the public's been really key on how to giving those grants out to those members of the population. Participants supported funding community colleges and public libraries. These institutions serve communities with limited access to resources and can help bring educational and support services to diverse populations across the state. Criminal justice reform and reinvestment. Again, the trend. Members of the public stress that cannabis revenue should not fund criminal law enforcement and should instead support community-based organizations such as violence intervention initiatives. Hearing participants emphasize the need for educational and vocational support for incarcerated and formerly incarcerated individuals. The programs can enhance employment opportunities, reduce recidivism, and support successful community reintegration. Workforce development and youth services. The public also expressed interest in using revenues for educational support services such as scholarships, vocational training, cannabis-specific apprenticeship programs, professional certificates, business development, and financial literacy programs. Many commenters emphasized the need for more cannabis-related career education. So that was something that was emphasized by the public. Public feedback highlighted the importance of using revenue to support after-school and out-of-school programs that offered healthy habits, recreation, and safe spaces for youth. They suggested uses included funding community centers and faith-based facilities that serve vulnerable populations. Public health. Commenters recommended using cannabis revenues to expand healthcare services in communities most impacted by cannabis prohibition, with a focus on building healthy infrastructure and improving health outcomes. Public feedback included recommendations to fund resources and education related to mental health, especially in the communities harmed by the war on drugs. Suggestions included funding education for physicians about the endocannabinoid system to improve patient health. Participants call for investments in addiction treatment, harm reduction, and support services for individuals struggling with addiction. Proposed services included overdose prevention, opioid therapy, and expanded addiction treatment in underserved communities. I just want to go over the current CEF funding status, which is interesting. As of March 2025, according to the New Jersey Department of the Treasury, social equity excise fee funds from fiscal 2023, 2024, and 2025 have not been dispersed. The current balance in the social equity excise fee fund as of March 2025 is $5,121,000. That's what's in the fund as of 2025. In summary, the undispersed $5,129,000 and the estimated $6.5 million to be generated in fiscal 2025, the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission expects approximately $11,629,000 to be available from CEF revenues in fiscal year 2026. The commission recommends that this revenue be invested in grants and low-interest loans to small businesses seeking cannabis licenses, particularly those owned and operated by individuals from economically disadvantaged areas and individuals with prior marijuana conviction. The commission further recommends that these revenues be invested in I already said that. The Regulatory Commission believes that all of these areas, economic development, criminal justice reform, workforce development, youth services, and public health are key to addressing the negative impact of marijuana prohibition on individuals and communities. Investing in these areas can help ensure a safe and equitable and inclusive cannabis industry in New Jersey. Because of the relatively small amount of revenue generated through the social equity excise fee, the commission further recommends that additional tax revenue collected from the cannabis sales in fiscal year 2025 be allocated in accordance with this report for publicly driven priority programs. And finally, we want to thank you. The commissioners and staff look forward to working with state partners to amplify the express wishes of New Jerseyans and ensure that social equity investment made with CEF revenues will benefit those most harmed by the failed war on drugs, upholding the values of the New Jersey Cannabis Regulatory Commission and reflect the diversity spirit of the Garden State. Again, the commission thanks all members of the public who share these ideas and input, as well as the governor, legislature for considering these recommendations. And Madam Chairwoman, with that, I complete my CEF report.
Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado. Are there any questions from the board for the Public Engagement and Education Committee? Hearing no questions from the board, is there a motion on this matter? I will move to approve the Commission's 2025 report on the recommended uses of the social equity excise fee.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are applications for permit or license changes.
Thank you. For this, I will turn the floor over to Director Riggs to provide a summary of those applications for permit or license change that have been received.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have two applications that are submitting to change their capacity, their canopy, their physical plant, or their premises. Next slide, please. Brighter Side Canopy LLC is a micro business that is looking to add an additional grow room. It will still keep them under the 2,500 square foot threshold that they're required to stay under as a micro business under the law. But it is a change to their physical plant, and therefore it is required to be submitted and approved by the board. GTI New Jersey Hackettstown is requesting an increase in their cultivation tier, their canopy tier, to go from tier 2 to tier 3. They want to grow between 2,500 square feet and 50,000 square feet. The canopy increase that they've submitted will add 4 additional flower rooms that puts them right over the 2,500 square foot flowering canopy space. The site plan, standard operating procedures were reviewed and deemed satisfactory by the Office of Compliance and Investigations. I do want to note that all businesses should be aware that any modification to your facility, to your existing business, should be submitted through your compliance officer because most of them do require board approval. We are requesting and recommending that these two modifications be approved by the board. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move that we consider this resolution regarding the approval of applications to modify capacity, physical plant, premises, or administrative office.
Commissioner Del Cid Coso moves to approve the applications. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are applications for ownership changes.
Director Riggs, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under the law and regulations, the sale or transfer of any equity in a business requires board approval. Before any ownership change can take effect, it needs to be presented to the board and approved by the board. There are 6 cannabis businesses that are proposing a transfer of ownership today. Sun Extractions, which is a manufacturer, Union Chill Cannabis, which is a dispensary, Lemon 22 LLC, which is a dispensary, Mom New Jersey LLC, which is a dispensary, Green Group Grows NJ LLC, a micro cultivator, and Nimbus Farms Incorporated LLC, which is a cultivator. All of these entities have satisfied the regulatory requirements for an ownership change. Each owner and individual that's required to be vetted was done so by the Office of Compliance and Investigations, and the office has deemed that these folks are qualified to enter the AU market. Therefore, we are recommending that these ownership changes be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the request for transfers of ownership for the 6 businesses that Acting Executive Director Riggs mentioned. Outlined.
I second.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado, seconded by Commissioner Nash. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the requests? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business conversion license applications.
Director Riggs, floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next slide, please. And one more. Perfect. We have 4 conditional to annual license conversion applications presented to the board and recommended for approval today. 2 cultivators, 2 retailers. All 4 of these licenses have followed our licensing process where priority assignment was given, and we've confirmed that that application is assigned to an appropriate review priority. Look at diversely owned business status, taxes if necessary, residency if required, and cures or sent if necessary. That priority is then verified, where we can confirm that the appropriate documentation is submitted to support that priority. We can also send cures at that time if we don't have the required documentation. Next, the Office of Licensing does a completeness review. We confirm that all required documents are submitted, the application is complete, and we confirm that the document is actually filled out and all the required information has been submitted. Once that's confirmed, the next step is that the application is scored. These documents are reviewed to ensure that the applicant submitted the information to satisfy all of the requirements and regulation and the notice of application acceptance. At that point, it moves into our Office of Compliance and Investigations for a qualification review where individuals, financial sources, and any other agreements such as financial sources or management service agreements are reviewed for regulatory compliance. Background checks are reviewed to ensure that the owners and any persons of interest are qualified to enter the adult use marketplace. And the final step before recommending to the board is a quality control where our Office of Licensing, Office of Compliance and Investigations, and our great legal team get together and look at the application to make sure that it satisfies all the regulatory requirements. And then we get to the recommendation to the board in the final step. All of these applications have been reviewed, scored, and are now recommended to you for approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board?
So this is one resolution for 4 conditionals and 10 annuals, correct?
For just the conversion,
We haven't gotten.
just
yeah,
for
We'll
conversion.
get to them next, Vice Chair.
Okay.
Hearing no further questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the resolution for applications to convert from conditional to annual.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Nash, seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business annual license applications.
Thank you. Director Riggs, the floor is yours. This is for the direct to annual license
Yep,
application.
this is what the Vice Chair was looking for. These follow the exact same licensing process that I just previously articulated. We have 9 annual licenses up today, 2 cultivators, 5 manufacturers, and 2 retailers. All of these applications have been reviewed, scored, and are recommended to the board for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to approve the annual license applications presented here today.
I second.
Moved by Commissioner Nash, seconded by Commissioner Mapp. Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the annual license applications? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are the adult use cannabis business annual license renewal applications.
Director Riggs.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have 10 annual renewal applications up for approval today. These applications followed our licensing process. They were reviewed initially and went through that process. Licenses in the adult use space are effective for 1 year of date of issuance, and then they need to be renewed annually. All these entities have provided the required documentation for renewal. That documentation has been reviewed by and approved by the Office of Compliance and Investigations. The expanded ATCs that you see here, the first 2 are in their first year of operations, have provided the additional municipal support and approval that is required. The other remaining 8 have provided the appropriate documentation, and therefore we are recommending that these licenses be approved for renewal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve this resolution concerning the renewal of adult use cannabis business licenses.
Moved by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are determinations of cases and petitions. determinations of rehabilitation.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Chief Counsel Toizon to provide a summary of those requests for determination of rehabilitation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we received 3 applications for rehabilitation. 2 were from ATC employees, 1 from an adult use employee. All 3 received notice that a criminal history check revealed a disqualifying conviction. All 3 individuals were given the opportunity to challenge the accuracy of the criminal history results or request a determination of rehabilitation. They all applied for a rehab application. All 3 met the 8 factors under the statutes and regs, and we recommend approval of all 3 rehabilitation applications. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief Counsel Toizon. Are there any questions from the board regarding these 3 requests for determination of rehabilitation? No. All right, hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that we approve the request, termination, of rehabilitation, adult use cannabis business employees.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Mapp, seconds. It's like an auction house here. We gotta- Is there any discussion on this motion to approve the request? Hearing no discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are requests for rule waivers.
Thank you. Chief Counsel Toizon, I'll turn the floor over to you to present the rule waiver requests received.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Today, the board will be considering 2 separate waiver requests, and the board has the authority to grant a regulatory waiver if they determine that pursuant to NJ-CRC 17:30-3.7 that they meet the 3 factors under that regulation. The first is that a waiver of the regulation is necessary to achieve the purposes of the CREAM Act or the Jake Honig Act is, just the CREAM Act. Number 2, it's necessary to provide access to cannabis items to consumers. And 3, does not create a danger to the public health, safety, or welfare. So the first regulatory waiver request is, you can turn back to the first slide. WR0008 by Noble Valley Harvest Company. They request a waiver of NJ-CRC 17:30-7.17 D5 to waive the expanded alternative treatment center certification fee for medical cannabis cultivators. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair, for a board vote.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter? I will move to deny the waiver request for failure to meet the 3 criteria under Rule 3.7.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any discussion on this motion? Again, I believe that this waiver request, waiver of this rule is not necessary to achieve the purposes of the CREAM Act. While I do agree that it would not pose a risk to health or safety, it is not necessary to provide access to cannabis. And while I sympathize with the requester's detailed explanation, and I believe we could use it as food for thought for the commission for future reference when evaluating its regulations. I believe that we cannot impose a new fee, so that we would have to either waive the entire fee or not waive the entire fee. And I believe denial of this waiver is warranted under the circumstances and according with the regulations and statute. Any further discussion on this matter? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next waiver request is WR024. The requester was Nova Farms Woodbury, LLC. They request a waiver of the requirement under 17:30-16.3B5 that requires that cannabis packaging include a barcode. In lieu of a barcode, the entity requests to use a QR code. With that, turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chief Counsel. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chairwoman, I moved it. We deny the request.
Vice Chair Delgado, could you speak into the microphone, please?
Oh, excuse me. I thought I left already. Yes, Madam Chairwoman, I move that we deny the waiver requested by Fenway Garden State LLC.
Second.
Moved by Vice Chair Delgado, who is still here, at least for the time being, seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion to deny? I believe that this, as articulated by staff, the concern here is one of our ability to make sure that the information that is required by law and by regulation to be included on the packages would be impeded or limited if a QR code were to be used instead of a barcode. I believe our regulations do allow for business licensees to have a QR code on their packages in addition to the required barcode, but not instead of. And so because of the concern around our ability to enforce the required packaging labeling requirements, I am supportive of denial of this particular request and invite the licensee to add their QR code in addition to the barcode rather than instead of. Any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado.
Yes.
Chairwoman Wainu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item up for consideration are notices of enforcement actions.
Chief Counsel, I'm sorry. Director Riggs, the floor is
Yeah, we're
yours.
trying to confuse you. We have 4 enforcement actions, so I'll give a brief summary of them, and then when the first voting item comes up, I'll go deeper into them. Columbia Care Investigation 02-25 is basically failure to adhere to labor-related regulatory and statutory requirements. We have Prolific Grow House Investigation 04-25, which is failure to adhere to its standard operating procedures, as well as multiple regulatory and statutory violations. Next slide, please. Baked by the River Investigation 205-24, failure to adhere to the adult use regulations related to sampling. And Aunt Mary's Investigation 30-25, failure to adhere to the adult use regulations regarding expiration dates. Next slide. So this is Investigation 02-25, which is Columbia Care Notice of Violation. Notice of violation was issued to Columbia Care for labor relations issues. They had management in a room when there was a ratification vote. The CREAM Act requires and our regulations require that a good faith effort is made to enter into a collective bargaining agreement. These allegations seem to be not in good faith, and therefore we are recommending that an enforcement action be taken against Columbia Care.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to Columbia Care in INV 0225?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Nash.
can I provide some background and then make the motion?
Sure.
Okay. UFCW conducted a card check at Columbia Care's Vineland facility and had a majority representation of workers who wished to be represented by the union. The NLRB ruled that certain classes of the employees were exempt from the NLRB or the NLRA, the National Labor Relations Act, and thus the union had a majority representation. I'm sorry, let me repeat that. The NLRB ruled that certain classes of the employees were exempt from the NLRA, and thus the union had a majority representation. New Jersey law allows for workers who are not covered under the NLRA to still be represented by a union. As a reminder, the workers in question are not covered by the NLRB, and therefore the Commission retains authority under labor laws for workers who do not fall under the NLRA. Columbia Care interfered at a ratification meeting by having a representative of management present at the meeting. NJ-CRC 24-6I-72E, that's the medical statute, and NJ-CRC 24-6I-36C state that failure to demonstrate good faith efforts to enter into CBA within 200 days of opening of a licensed cannabis business shall result in the suspension or revocation of the business's license. As such, I move to impose an order of 2-day suspension of Columbia Care's Park Avenue cultivation licenses, including AU and medical, for violation of NJ-CRC 24-6I-7.2E and NJ-CRC 24-6I-36C. If Columbia Care can demonstrate its progress toward a ratification vote without interference, the order can be lifted. Any future action pertaining to this matter can be delegated to the chair and vice chair. They will have joint authority to take any future action. Madam Chair, I cede the floor to you. The motion, should I make the motion?
I believe you did.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay.
So Commissioner Nash has moved to issue a proposed order of a 2-day suspension. Is there a second? I will second the motion. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Vice Chair Delgado, please speak into the microphone.
Thank you.
At the request of our wonderful IT staff.
Yeah, I have a question, Madam Chairwoman. Is this a 72-hour? When you say 2-day suspension, when does that take effect?
So under our regulations,
Yes.
under our adult use regulations, Rule 20.8 and medical regulations 13.8, after a notice of proposed suspension, after issuing a notice of a proposed order of suspension, a licensee here, Columbia Care, would have 72 hours to rectify the situation, provide evidence to the commission of that they have corrected the violation. If after 72 hours, no correction has been made, then the suspension would go into effect immediately. But that 72-hour clock does not start until the until the notice of the proposed order of suspension is actually sent out.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't hear that,
That's all right. All right.
but no. Okay, thank you for explaining that. Thank you
Thank you.
for clarifying that.
Certainly. As I noted, there are two regulations here that are involved and that pertain to the proposed order of suspension. Now the business would have the ability to get out from under the danger of this 2-day suspension if they provide required information within 72 hours. I believe the details on the scope of the suspension, as articulated by Commissioner Nash, should be included in the notice of the proposed suspension. Commissioner Nash has already articulated that this would apply to the cultivation, adult use cultivation and medical cultivation permits only. This would not affect any dispensary operations. This would not affect any manufacturing operations conducted by Columbia Care. I believe I agree with Commissioner Nash. Believe that the record clearly demonstrates evidence of bad faith in the collective bargaining negotiations. I understand that the parties are working to close the existing gap very, very quickly. And so I am hopeful that the delayed nature of this suspension order will give them the time that they need to close that gap and actually demonstrate that they are working towards a scheduled date on which their employees will be able to vote on an agreement, whether to reject or accept an agreement. I have no doubt that the vice chair and I will be able to exercise our responsibility to take any action, whether to lift or otherwise lift the order of suspension or otherwise. I have no doubt about our ability to do that in a timely manner to make sure that should Columbia Care comply with their requirements and correct these issues, that there will be no continuation, no concerns around disruption of operations. Vice Chair Delgado.
The actions of demonstration will be articulated in the notice.
Yes, the details of what is required, would be required, should be articulated in the notice of the proposed suspension. Right now, I can say that it would be to demonstrate that that Columbia Care has reached, defines a date on which their employees who are not subject to the NLRA would be able to make a decision on whether to reject or accept and adopt a collective bargaining agreement. And I want that vote to happen without interference or the presence of management in a way that would intimidate or reasonably be perceived as intimidating or coercive by their employees.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
You're most certainly welcome, Vice Chair. Any further discussion on this motion to impose the 2-day suspension? Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Abstain.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
So thank you. So we now have the next notice of violation, which is that prolific row house.
Prolific crabs, correct.
Director Riggs, the floor is yours.
Next, is that the right investigation number for prolific? Report, Correct. That's prolific grow house. So 04-25 investigation control number is prolific grow house. During a site visit on January 10th of 2025 by our compliance staff, there were 6 violations discovered. Prolific was using a room for manufacturing extracts that was created after their final inspection was conducted and after their manufacturing license was issued. There was no inspection of that area, and it was a modification of their facility that should have been approved by the board prior to using it. This new room didn't have cameras, security cameras as required by regulations, so we had no insight into what was going on in that room. The main entrance to their facility, which is not, which is a manufacturing facility and a grow, the front entry was unlocked, and it was easy access for our compliance officers when they arrived to both the grow area and the manufacturing area. Packaged cannabis was being stored in the hallway with easy access into the building and not secure as required by the regulations. Every plant in the cultivation room that exceeded 6 inches in height but was not tagged by metric tags, which is required under our regulations. And there was an employee working at the location that did not have a badge. That individual had applied to work, was issued a letter showing that they had a disqualifying conviction. Prolific was informed of this individual was unable to work, was not qualified to work, but that individual continued to work and did not have a badge. And those are the facts. We are recommending an enforcement action against Prolific based upon these violations. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board for Director Riggs? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a $6,000 penalty for the 6 violations.
Is there a second? I will second the motion to impose a $6,000 penalty. Is there any discussion on this motion? For me, I think there are a few things here that are relevant to my support for the $6,000 penalty. First and foremost, as it relates to the unauthorized employee, in the past, the commission has imposed a penalty that amounted to approximately $2,000 fine for each employee that was without a badge. In that case, the licensee did self-report and took action to correct the issues. Here, we have the opposite situation where the employer was notified of the unauthorized employee and failed to address or correct the problem. And so for that, I think there is I think that warrants an increased fine for the failure to register the employee. I think the storage, so for me, I believe $3,000 would be appropriate for the unregistered employees. I believe $500 fine would be appropriate for the failures with respect to storage of cannabis, their failure to apply for a facility modification as required. It warrants a $1,000 fine. Failure to have security cameras in that room that was unauthorized would be warranted. Would warrant an additional $500 fine, and failure to properly tag all their plants with metric tags, I believe, warrants a $1,000 fine. And so for me, that's how I would break down the $6,000 total fine against Prolific Grow House in this instance. Is there any further discussion on this motion? Hearing none. Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash,
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next enforcement action before the board is Baked by the River 205-24. These were sampling violations. There was an off-site event sponsored by Baked by the River and other cannabis businesses. Baked by the River ordered cannabis from other vendors, made extremely discounted purchases to bring that cannabis to the event and hand out for business and promotional purposes, which is a regulatory and statutory violation, and therefore we are recommending an enforcement action.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions, is there a motion on this matter as it relates to Baked by the River? Any motion on this matter as it relates to Baked by the River? I will move to impose a penalty of $2,000 for the violations noted. Here, the business does admit, by their own admission, participants at this event were given the option to sample cannabis products, and products were optionally gifted in small quantities for sampling. The business does assert that a prior event was held and in similar fashion, and the commission did not raise any objections to that event. However, there is a significant distinction between the two events. That earlier event, there was no sampling done on site. Participants, as indicated by the business in that earlier event, the consumers were actually brought to the dispensary and conducted their purchases there, and then went back to the site of the event. Here we have the business owners and managers buying cannabis and then taking that to the event for distribution or sampling. And so while I understand and sympathize with the desire to provide a mechanism for sampling products by businesses, I think this is something that the commission can look at in the future. However, as it presently stands, our regulations are clear, and the law is also states that no sampling or gifting of products for non-promotional business purposes is permitted. And so while I believe the commission can look to do maybe to revisit issues in the future related to this, to find some pathway, I believe that we do not have that pathway available to us right now. And so I believe that the fine here is warranted and is reasonable in accordance with the law and the regulations. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Yeah, I'm going to second.
Sorry, my apologies.
Go ahead.
I don't believe we had a second. I explained the $2,000 penalty.
Yeah.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'm going to second.
Seconded by Vice Chair
But
Delgado.
I
Okay.
want to, I can allow to make comment.
Yes, please.
I agree with you. I think as the commission, I won't be here, but as the commission goes forward.
Thanks for reminding.
No, seriously, as the commission goes forward, and amending its rules and regulations, you definitely need to look at that and make it clearer. In the meantime, I think maybe the communication department could elevate that issue on the website, maybe using a video, Q&A video, so that it's more attainable. It's easily attainable for businesses to understand what the rule is, what the current rule is. That way,
We'll make sure we take you up on that recommendation, Vice Chair.
I'll be calling in on that. Take care.
Thank you.
And those are my notes.
Thank you, Vice Chair Delgado. Is there any further discussion?
Just a brief comment.
Yes.
I
Commissioner Bell.
agree. Thank you. I agree with Vice Chair Delgado. I think education, especially for events like 420 and other ones that happen throughout the year, I think education, educating our licensees is very important so that we make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future. And again, it's $5,000. You know, next time it could be, I'm sorry, $2,000. Next time it could be other like maybe a more severe violation. And we want to make sure that you guys are following the regulations, but also communicating with the CRC and making sure, when in doubt, definitely reach out to us. Again, education is really critical when it comes to events like these.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say that, I take no great pleasure in finding any of the businesses. I mean, this marketplace is it's a difficult marketplace, and there's no pleasure in this commission finding any business. I'm sure you all agree.
I agree with that as well, Vice Chair.
Well said. Well said. And yes, certainly agree. We take no pleasure in finding businesses, but it is important for our enforcement and to make sure that businesses are held to account. If there's no further discussion, Mr. Saeed, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Cosa,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Wenu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
The next enforcement action before the commission is Aunt Mary's, investigation 30-25. There was an NOV issued for products being sold to employees for sampling purposes. Although they were sold, there was a vape cart and some edibles that had expired. Our regulations are clear that you cannot sell expired product to anyone, including your employees. Therefore, that is a violation, and we are recommending an enforcement action. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Director Riggs. Are there any questions from the board? Hearing no questions from the board, is there a motion on this matter?
Madam Chair, I move to impose a $5,000 sanction against Aunt Mary's Dispensary. That is based on previous similar sanction.
Commissioner Nash moves to impose a $5,000 sanction. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Del Cid Coso. Is there any discussion on this motion?
Is that what we posted in the past, $5,000?
For itself? Yes. So.
I just want to make sure.
Yes, in the past, we did have an NOV issued to Leaf House for gifting expired products and record keeping, and in that instance, a fine of $5,000 was imposed.
Was Aunt Mary also guilty of poor record keeping, or is it just expired product? 'Cause it sounds like
Director
two.
Riggs.
It sounds like there's two violations in there.
The
Record keeping.
the notice of violation to Aunt Mary's was issued for selling expired product.
Just one.
Two
Two.
products.
Okay. No, what I'm saying, in the past.
Yes, that was the only issue.
Poor record keeping and expired product.
We did not cite them for poor record keeping. We only cited them for selling expired product.
So it's really just one violation. It's not two. We exposed $5,000 for two violations. Poor record keeping and expired product.
That's correct.
Aunt Mary, no, not for that
For
previous.
Leaf House, yes.
Yeah, for Lake House. For Aunt Mary, they just have one violation for two products. And it's just for expired product.
Correct.
For me, it's just one violation, not two.
Yes.
Okay. So we're giving them the same fine that we gave
Leaf House.
Leaf House. Thank you.
That is the motion that was proposed and seconded. That's the motion that is on the floor now. If you'd like to
To counter?
amend.
Yeah, I'd like
if
to
you'd like to try to amend.
Yeah, I'd like to amend it
All
to
right.
2,500.
Could you speak into the microphone?
Yes, I would like to amend it to 2,500.
So Vice Chair Delgado moves to amend the underlying motion such that it imposes a penalty of $2,500.
Yes. That's my motion.
So we have a motion to amend the underlying motion. Is there a second on the attempt to amend the underlying motion such that the penalty imposed would be $2,500 instead of $5,000?
I second that amended motion so that we can be consistent in our fines.
Commissioner Mapp seconds the motion to amend the underlying motion. So on this motion to amend the underlying motion to impose a penalty of $2,500. Mr. Said, can you please call the vote? I'm sorry, before we do that, I'm so sorry. Is there any discussion on this motion to amend the underlying motion?
Yes, just a brief comment.
Commissioner Dustin.
Thank you. So this is the second time that we see that a business has sold expired products. And when we hosted our roundtables with the Permitting and Licensing Committee, I remember businesses expressing the need for extending the shelf life of products in dispensaries. And the committee made a recommendation that the Packaging and Labeling Committee looks into that. So I just wanted to flag that conversation, and we're starting to see more and more of these same issues. So want to make sure that the public's comments are taken into account in the work that committee is going to be doing moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Del Cid. Is there any further discussion on this motion to amend the underlying motion so that it would impose a penalty of $2,500 instead of $5,000? Hearing no further discussion on this motion to amend the underlying motion, Mr. Said, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right, so now we now have a main motion that is to impose a penalty of $2,500 that is on the floor before us. Is there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, then Mr. Said, on the motion to impose a penalty of $2,500, can you please call the vote?
Commissioner Del Cid Coso,
Yes.
Commissioner Mapp,
Yes.
Commissioner Nash.
Yes.
Vice Chair Delgado,
Yes.
Chairwoman Waynu.
Yes.
The motion passes. The next item on the agenda, we have the open public comment period.
As we open the floor for our public comment period, as I do every board meeting, I invite members of the public to submit their comments in writing. You can do it during or after this board meeting. The deadline for submitting written comments to the commission is 5:00 p.m. tomorrow, Friday, June 13th. Go to our website. You can submit those written comments by going to our website, nj.gov/cannabis/meetings. Written comments will be shared with the commission members and they will be made public. Mr. Said will call on our registered speakers. We're going to start with with those individuals who are in person, and then we'll turn to those joining us by phone. Speakers will be limited to 3 minutes. We have our clock here, which will count down your time. When it is your turn to speak, for those who are in person, we invite you to come down. I believe the microphone is already turned on, so all you'll have to do is just begin your comments. The microphone, yes, is now turned on. Thank you. Make sure to state your name clearly because we have a stenographer who is transcribing our meeting, and we want to make sure we capture people's names correctly. So with that, Mr. Said, can you please call on our first speakers?
The first person, Excuse me. Thank you, Chairwoman. As a reminder, public speakers during this afternoon's public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes. Please be respectful and concise during your comments. The first person registered to speak in person is Carlos Almanzar, here in the room. Okay, the next person is Lisa Grega.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Lisa Grega, and I am founder and CEO of Noble Valley Harvest Company. We are a medical cultivator and was awarded the only Tier 1 5,000 square foot canopy license in the state from the 2019 licensing round. We've recently become operational in March of this year after 6 years since beginning the process. I'm speaking to you today to shed some light on the current medical program issues and specifically fee issues that affect the sustainability of this program. When looking at the medical versus adult use programs, there are some clear imbalances which favor adult use. To start, there are now less than 60,000 patients from the 130,000 peak, generating less than 1/10 of the revenue as on the adult use side, with 2/3 of registered doctors not accepting new patients. Additionally, out of 250 operating dispensaries, only 55 can sell medical products, with patients limited to 3 ounces per month compared to adult use, which essentially has no limit. The point of these statistics is there is no incentive for medical operators nor patients other than sales and CEF tax relief. Patients are getting their medicine on the adult use side without the hassle of limited ATC locations, limited allotments, limited medical menus, and limited doctors. The program needs incentives with examples such as medical patient home grow, removing patient purchase limits, and decreasing or eradicating patient and medical operator fees. Specific to fees, our opinion is that a medical license shouldn't be more expensive than adult use when we are providing for patients. For Noble Valley, our annual license fee is $20,000, which is double the $10,000 fee for the comparable adult use license tier. Also, we as a 5,000 square foot medical cultivator have to pay the same $400,000 ATC expansion fee as a 20 to 30,000 square foot license type or the larger MSOs. We currently have 4 employees and less than 2,500 square feet of operational canopy. We are a micro grow in the eyes of adult use. The reality we all have to face is that there is no medical program without patients and no patients if they have no medical operators. Lack of new operators and lack of meaningful reforms are driving patients away, especially when the medical program is viewed as an inconvenience. We need to change, or for Noble Valley and its employees, we will be out of business. If enrollment further drops and we can't sell all of our product to patients, we are out of business. If we can't raise $400,000 due to limited medical patient sales, we are out of business. The reality we are facing is that we could lose a small women-owned startup cultivator while multi-state operators are the successful ones, a direct contradiction to the values of this commission. Please consider removing or decreasing these expansion fees and creating incentives in favor of patients and medical operators. And for the record, I had sent back on February 28th, 2024, a letter to Commissioner Jeff Brown at the time requesting just a simple discussion of these fees and how we might propose to reduce them. And while this is the first I'm even hearing of this turning into a formal waiver request, 15, 16 months later. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Smrita Chobi.
Hello, my name is Smrita Chaube. I'm the founder of Veda Warrior. Thank you to the CRC, members of the commission, Chairman Wenu, for the opportunity to speak today. Veda Warrior is an Ayurveda-inspired cannabis company. We operate under a brand licensing agreement with Columbia Care, and we are on a mission to create education around the ancient history of cannabis, specifically as it is linked to Ayurveda, which is the sister science of yoga and comes from ancient India. So education is really at the heart of our mission. and having the opportunity to speak to our consumers and patients alike to raise awareness around the history of cannabis is critical to our mission. Vice Chair Delgado, I loved what you said earlier, which is that we cannot regulate every aspect of human interaction. And it is really important to create safe and legal ways for us to have these educational events. So in that line, I just wanted to express that there's a tremendous need for greater amount of clarity and guidelines around how safe educational events can be hosted. Specifically, I was very dismayed to see the recent enforcement action against Baked by the River. Veda Warriors infused cooking oils are sold at Baked by the River. I personally know the operators, and they are kind-hearted, good people who are genuinely doing everything in their power to follow the rules and do things compliantly. So we would really appreciate just further focus on providing that clarity. I also wanted to provide just raise awareness to two other concerns. Again, Vice Chair Delgado, I loved what you said earlier that for large corporations, it's pretty easy to absorb compliance costs. It's really no skin off their back. For small business, women-owned operators like Veda Warrior, big shifts in compliance and testing standards can result in really big costs. For example, the recent changes in how samples are taken for testing cost Veda Warrior 3 weeks of revenue. We only launched in December. We really cannot afford to lose almost a month of revenue. I just wanted to raise awareness around the fact that these type of changes create outsized impact on the small business operators, women and minority-owned operators that this system is really trying to support. So I'd really appreciate the opportunity for further roundtable discussions in a more private setting where we're able to speak candidly that's not part of public testimony in order to further advance this. Finally, I wanted to raise awareness to the fact that several years into the launch of the New Jersey adult use program, we still have virtually no farm-grown cannabis businesses. I have a cultivation license myself. We're still at the conversion stage and haven't been able to convert it yet. And I just want to raise awareness around the fact that most farm-based operations were stymied at the municipal level. So I would just like to raise awareness around that fact and really ask the question of why and seek support from the CRC. Thank you so much for the opportunity to comment today.
Thank you, Shmina.
The next person on the list is Jessie Marie Villers.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm Jessie Marie Villers, owner of large corporate prioritization and monopolization that we're seeing in the cannabis industry here in New Jersey, and unfortunately how the actions of the NJ-CRC are pushing us in that direction. Let's take Lambertville, for example. We're a town that won't allow a Starbucks to open for the sake of letting locally owned independent coffee shops to survive. My business is the only locally owned micro business that was approved in my hometown. We applied for the micro business class because the NJ-CRC committed to prioritizing micro businesses. Instead of being prioritized, the NJ-CRC lost our application and didn't respond for months. Instead, directors from the NJ-CRC went out of their way to meet regularly with the larger business in my town, Union Chill, to help them open quickly and benefit from first-to-market advantage. A first-to-market advantage they then used to sell out their business to TerraSend, a sale that was just approved by the NJ-CRC today, allowing the 5th largest cannabis corporation in the United States to take over a 4th licensed business in New Jersey, beyond the limit of what was originally put in place to prevent monopolization in this industry. So my small business community in Lambertville was just sold out by the NJ-CRC. As the small business cannabis dispensary, that's terrifying. Union Chill is the same business whose consultant reported my business to the NJ-CRC. My business has not received a single complaint from anyone in Lambertville. Not a single resident, business, or local official has complained. It was the corporate competitor that reported my small business. And instead of meeting with me and giving my small business the same time and treatment that the NJ-CRC gave to Union Chill, instead of working with us and responding to my multiple attempts for outreach and communication, and supporting us, the NJ-CRC chose to punish us with a violation instead. My business is getting entirely different treatment from the large corporations that are doing the same type of events across the state. I watch MSOs host events in my hometown, but my business can't because we get penalized for doing the same. So instead of a locally owned business hosting local events, you're letting MSOs take over the local cannabis community events in my hometown. I'm not saying these events should be shut down. I do not want to see other businesses penalized, as I said in my last statement to the NJ-CRC. What I am concerned about is the blatantly unfair treatment I'm seeing. My small business is losing partnerships and marketing opportunities that we've set up through these event collaborations. And large corporations are now profiting from the opportunities that I started in my local community. That's what's happening in Lambertville, but it's just a small example of the larger problem happening statewide. Recent changes have allowed MSOs to take up to 30% of many licenses as they want. Depending on the agreement, that 30% can inevitably mean the MSO financially and thus functionally taking over the business operations, which is something I'm seeing across the state. The fact that the NJ-CRC is allowing this at the same time that you're taking away the ability of micro businesses to vertically integrate, you're killing the dreams of small independent entrepreneurs across the state like myself. Once again, giving competitive advantage to larger licensed corporations that can have as many license types as they want. So I ask for fair treatment. I ask for better communication. I ask to be part of the conversation. I ask you to let micro businesses to vertically integrate and stop supporting MSO monopolization in the Garden State.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. I know we don't normally respond to public comment, but there is the risk of inaccurate information spreading like wildfire. And I don't recall approving any ownership change to TerraSend today.
Okay.
It's true. No, we didn't.
Thank you, Commissioner Nash. Let us look into that. We'll proceed with our public comment period, and we'll give our staff an opportunity to look into the facts so that we can maybe clarify or correct the record after the public comment period ends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person on the list is Thomas Norcia. The next person on the list is James Jones. The next person on the list is Ihab Abu Hassan. The next person on the list is Reginald Green.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Reginald Green, and we respectfully appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. As of the day, I've been waiting exactly 1 year to be reinstated for employment in the New Jersey cannabis industry. 1 year. Not because I've done anything wrong during that time, but because of the delays of the rehabilitation determination process. This delay has real impact on my life. I've missed out on job opportunities, income, and the chance to contribute on an industry that's supposed to stand for growth, equity, and second chances. I'm here today to ask a simple question. Why does this process take so long? And why must individuals as myself wait for a full commission meeting to move forward, even when the case of rehabilitation is clear cut? If there's clear evidence of rehabilitation, then I believe qualified staff should have the authority to make the call without weeks, months, or a year unnecessary delay. This isn't just about policy, it's a human issue. People are trying to turn their lives around, they're doing the right thing, but there's being held back by red tape, not their past, but by a broken process. The New Jersey cannabis laws were designed to correct the harms of the past, but people are still being sidelined indefinitely, and we're missing the spirit of the law. I'm not blaming or finger pointing. I'm calling for change. My story matters. It really does. This is my lived experience, and I need the CRC Board of Commissioners to hear and understand the real human impact in my life. So today I'm asking the New Jersey CRC Board of Commissioners to consider procedure reforms that will allow for faster, fairer decisions so that people like me aren't left in limbo a year just trying to get back to work. And trust me, the rehabilitation determination process is a phenomenal opportunity, and I'm humbled and absolutely grateful. However, I'd like to see the CRC Commission empower qualified staff by granting them the authority to approve rehabilitation determination in straightforward cases, especially when there's no criminal activity, positive community involvement, and a clear track record for decades. That will keep things moving fairly and avoid unnecessary delays. I would like to thank the Commission today for your time and your commitment to building a just and equitable New Jersey cannabis industry. I've stayed hopeful because I believe in what this industry represents. Thanks to Mr. Glenn Walker, Mr. Wesley McKnight III, our union rep, Mike Burry, and a special thanks to Sharardi Patel, the attorney for Blaze Responsibility. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Leron Jones.
Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones.
My name is LaRon Jones. I want to first thank the commission for the opportunity to sit here and address you all today. I am the founder and managing partner of Mr. Jones Dispensary. I've been in cannabis for the last 15 years of my life, born and raised in Paterson, New Jersey, and arrested for the plant 3 times. I just want to start off and say, the moment I graduated college, I ran a very successful college cannabis operation there. The moment I graduated, my goal was to be the youngest minority operator in the country. We set out to do that here in New Jersey. I formed my first company, sat through countless meetings with, the Black Caucus, and we helped shape legislation with M4M. Since that time, Governor Christie shot that down, but Governor Murphy picked it back up. I was living in East Orange at the time, so I applied to East Orange. After paying $8,000 for my property for 16 months, we came up a vote short. However, in the midst of applying in East Orange, I decided to take the legal route to make sure I had that on my resume to ensure that I had an advantage over the others who just had money. So I was lucky enough to land a job at Ascend in Montclair. I ran that dispensary for over a year, built valuable relationships, and helped build out their social equity framework. After not receiving my approval in East Orange, they told me they would amend the ordinance. I took a job at Amazon driving trucks, waiting, banking on my faith rather than sight. And my wife was pregnant with my son. He's now 15 months. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I got a call from Ascend. The state provided a new opportunity with this bill. And I took this opportunity for my son. After I took the opportunity. We did everything we needed to do. I have a staff fully built out. I will welcome you to come walk my facility. But I just want the commission to know I'm looking forward to working closely with you, answering any questions you may have, and getting our doors open. I have a $2.5 million loan in my name that's accruing interest while I'm not being able to generate. I have staff on payroll that I'm paying, and we can't do anything. Again, everyone is in training. I'm okay with the training. That's okay. I approved them to start training, but we have to understand there are people open in this state. We get it. But if you walk around to a lot of the people that look like us that are open, they're going to tell you they're not doing well. There's two things. It's either a lack of capital or there's also just a lack of actual operational experience in this industry. I bring both to the table. I have many people. My family, we ran a Golden Corral franchise. I opened 3 buffets in upstate New York. We sold those off. I came right back to cannabis. I just want to back up and say, I had that same mindset against, multi-state operators. However, the partner that I'm partnered with has demonstrated success in not only New Jersey, but multiple markets. This opportunity is not just to get our doors open, but to keep our doors open. And I will get to 3 dispensaries by 2030. And I just wanted to let you guys know who I am. I'm LaRon Jones, and I thank you all for this time today. And actually, as I was speaking, Reginald was also a part of the expungement programs that Ascend also put together. So thank you all, and I pray that you see the work we're doing. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Andrea Rabel.
Hi. Hello. My name is Andrea Rabel. You're probably all pretty familiar with me as I've been here for about a year and a half testifying on different patient issues and different safety concerns in the market, trying to figure out ways that we can rebuild our medical program, which seems to be dwindling painfully. We hear it from across the industry that there's no incentive for medical providers or patients. We hear across the industry that the small businesses are struggling while these larger businesses capture more and more market share. We see the problems on the ground level, that we have dirty medicine on shelves. We see this a problem across the nation. New Jersey isn't alone. I'm not trying to tear us down here, but it's a reality that we need to face. Because there are situations where consumers, dispensaries, and cultivators are agreeing that a product was contaminated to the point that it needed to be destroyed, but the CRC is the one saying that product and that test process was okay. I'm confused. I'm confused at how small independent businesses are getting $2,000 fines, but large labs out of compliance on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tests are getting a $10,000 fine. Like we said, to small businesses, these actions are massive, but to large multi-state operators, the cost of business, it's cheaper than running those tests were. Months ago, we put out the Safe Leaf secret shopper results that showed up to 30%, about 28% of the pre-rolls that we retested failed for microbials. You guys did make a call to us and had asked us about the brands, and we said, we really need you to investigate your labs across the board. You have hundreds of dispensaries, hundreds of cultivators, when you add up all the other license types, but you have less than 10 lab licenses that need to be investigated. We heard that there was new testing guidance, that there's an investigation with the Department of Health, but all we've seen so far is that those testing guidance, that new regulation was rescinded. All I know is the CRC seemed enthusiastic about addressing safety. You can see my last public comment was applauding the fact we finally got to hear from Director Urbish and come in and understand a little bit more about what goes on behind the scenes. But the Assembly was able to host a committee hearing before anyone at the CRC was able to have a meeting with me. And I've been asking for a year and a half. But even when you said after the Safe Leaf reports came out that we would be more in touch, the only thing that's happened is you rescinded the testing guidance. We're back to 100-pound batch size. That's not representative, that's not fair, and it's hurting our small cultivators who might not even grow 100 pounds at a time. Why is everything consistently prioritized over public safety? At what point is enough enough? At what point do we have to take responsibility for the other parts of your code of ethics that say it's your duty to keep us safe, that say it's your duty to speak up if you can't? I'm out here trying to fight for legislative changes that can give us the kind of resources we need to keep this market safe. But we can't do it without you. Clearly, you can issue enforcement actions. My question isn't your capability, it's your priorities. My question is, you made us a lot of promises and you sold out patients and plenty of individual motions, like the 100-pound batch size. We had a 10-pound batch size. It was a single motion one day that changed that as a temporary order to 100 pounds years and years ago. It was over a year ago that there was a motion on batch size in this very room, and it was delayed because our former director, I'm sorry, at the time had said we were going to have the testing guidance soon. It's been over a year and it's been rescinded. What is soon? When is soon enough? And can we make a motion today to fix things? Sorry for running long. Thank you for your time.
I'm going to move on to the virtual speakers. Just give me 1 second to. The first person on the list, Edward Lefty Grimes. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person on the list is Spencer Bells. If you're in the room. All right, I see you, Spencer. Just give me 1 second. Just bear with us.
Can you guys hear me?
All right, Spencer.
Someone kicked me out. Is it still echoing or am I good?
Can you try now?
All right, thank you, everybody. My name is Spencer Bells. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm a board member with the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association and also the chairperson of their Retail and Marketing Committee. My focus with the NJ-CBA is to support the growth and development of licensed operators while acting as a collective voice for their issues and concerns. But I'm here today to speak about the insufficient communication and the passive pace surrounding approvals of legal consumption areas and dispensaries. Consumption areas, or lounges, are a new addition to the Jersey market, an addition that supports safe and regulated consumption, builds on the community and culture of surrounding cannabis, offers a new potential revenue stream for the dispensaries, and creates new experiences and engagements for all within the market. It is easily understood the amount of work that goes into developing new aspects of the market, drafting regulations, and approving these applications. But we also need to highlight the difficulties and frustrations for operators to not receive consistent and clear communication on expanding a big portion of their business into uncharted territory. The Commission has received at least 6 submissions from the April 2nd round of applications, which is a great sign that the interest and demand exists for lounges. But now we are in June. In over 2 months since the first applications were received, these dispensaries have received no communication or follow-up from the licensing department or the Commission on approvals, next steps, inspections, checklists, or truly any form of insight at all outside of the potential cure letters. They were left off the May and now June agendas without any reasoning or understanding as to what comes next in this process or what may cause a slower pace for approvals. There's a few issues at hand with this stagnation and the lack of communication. First, most dispensary monitors have no insight to offer, many stating that they themselves haven't received any word on the application process or timeline. Second, after investing tens of thousands of dollars into their lounges in construction fees, utilities, and application fees, these rooms sit collecting dust. Many dispensaries built lounges into their business models and still cannot fully execute their operation to the fullest. They have no idea when they're going to be able to recoup on their investments. Third, almost all of these operators will need to hire additional staff for their lounges. Even with the provisional badging process, dispensaries will either bring staff in too early and bleed on labor costs, or wait for the last minute guidance and rush to hire. Number four, 4th of July is a significant summer holiday that offers massive opportunities for driving revenue. Without lounges being approved and opened, these operators are now missing another chance to recoup on their investments and drive tax revenues for their municipalities and the state itself. 5, most importantly, it is upsetting to see that we're not getting the support that operators need throughout this process, specifically those that are taking a huge risk on their businesses. These dispensaries are making history in New Jersey. They're not only doing something new, but they're building environments to focus on safe consumption and areas to educate, explore, advocate, and immerse into cannabis. So the NJ-CBA would like to request from the Commission to immediately reach out to these operators with an updated timeline on the approval process of their applications and an inspection checklist so they can prepare their lounges for a seamless approval process. And number two, we're requesting a special virtual meeting next week or as early as possible to approve these dispensary operators for their consumption areas. That would need to be immediately followed up by scheduling inspections to get these lounges as soon as possible. We look forward to the continued growth and expansion of the strongest cannabis market on the East Coast. We appreciate all the Commission has done and continues to do for our individual and collective needs. Thank you all for your time.
All right, Edward, I see you. Just give me 1 second. Edward, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon. This is Edward Lefty Grimes with sativacross.org, 501c3. I want to echo everything Andrea said before. She's absolutely right. So I'm not even going to go over that again. I will say that Baked by the River should have gotten a waiver on their fine. They're a small business. They're trying very hard to comply. And the rules were very vague. You're trying to teach us how to sesh. I've been smoking weed for 45 years. I've been buying weed, seshing for years. Now, all of a sudden, you come along with your rules on how to sesh. No dab bars, no food. Like, seriously? Like, what are you trying to do? We know how to do these things. Waive that fine. That's absolutely ridiculous, hurting small businesses like that. People that are trying hard to comply. There's problems with testing. I'm not even, Andrea hit on all those points, but I will say that Sativa Cross did their own secret shopper. We got weed off the street, some regs that we've been smoking all our life from Jersey City, in the hood of Jersey City, off the street, $50 to $100 a zip. It tested better than some of the cannabis in New Jersey for over $400 an ounce. So we need to do better as an industry. I want this industry to do better and thrive. I want the small businesses to thrive. But when you have deals like that, how do you compete with that? It's safer than the dispensary weed. Come on. I got sick from some moldy weed a few weeks ago from a grower in New Jersey. And there's been a few of those issues. I would like to have a moment of silence for Wayne Barini, who passed away last week. He was an activist in New Jersey at the State House for many, many years. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Thank you.
The next person on the list is Lindsay Shaw. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Lindsay Shaw. Last four of the telephone is 4434. I would also like to remind you that if you're on Zoom and you're calling in, it's *9 to raise your hand and *6 to unmute. All right. Next person is Hireshikesh Vimadalal. Hireshikesh Vimadalal. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person is Stanley Phillip. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Stanley Phillip, 5913. The next person is Songar Fulai. Songar Fulai, last four is 4139. The next person is Rashid Long. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Rashid Long. Last four is 2995. The next person is Daisy Sepulveda. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Daisy Sepulveda, 5468. The next person is Sherman James. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Sherman James. Last four is 3201. The next person is John Wise. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. John Wise. Last four is 0810. Okay. The next person is Lisa Hamlet. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Lisa Hamlet. Last four is 2664. The next person is Nancy Vitello. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Nancy Vitello. Last four is 4675. The next person is Glenn Rada. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Glenn Rada. Last four is 6514. Okay. Next person is Karen McCroy. Last four is 6526. Karen McCroy. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. The next person is Mahim Gupta. If you're in the room, please raise your hand. Last four for Mahim Gupta is 2090. That's it for the list. I'm just going to go over one more time. For in person, Carlos Almanzar, if you're in the room. Next person is Thomas Norcia. James Jones. Ehab Abu Hassan. And then now for the calling in speakers, Lindsay Shaw. Hireshikesh Vimadalal. Stanley Phillip. Songor Fulai. Daisy Sepulveda. Sherman James, John Wise, Lisa Hamlet, Nancy Vitello, Glenn Rada, Karen McCroy, Mahim Gupta, Chairwoman Wayno, this will conclude the registered speakers we have for today's public meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Saeed. Thank you to all those individuals who spoke both in person and virtually to share your ideas, your experiences, and your insight. I do want to give up an opportunity to Commissioner Riggs to correct or clarify the record. Oh, sorry. Director Riggs, to clarify or correct the record with respect to a couple of things, one being Terracent.
Yeah.
And well, the commission's actions today with respect to Terracent.
Absolutely. So the commission is certainly aware of TerraSen's request to buy into Union Chill Cannabis. However, the ownership change that was approved today by the commission was simply redistributing the ownership percentage that was owned by the individual that tragically passed away through existing ownership. Nothing with TerraSen was approved today by the board. Also, micro businesses are permitted to vertically integrate. There was an issue that was being addressed legally. We had those conversations and we've come to the conclusion that they have the ability to vertically integrate. So both of those issues are what I would like to address. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Riggs. I also want to make just a very brief comment when it comes to business decisions versus the regulatory timelines. We understand that businesses are very eager to get up and running, submit their applications, get responses to those applications so that they can actually open their doors to the public and, you know, exercise their dreams. We at the commission, we sympathize and we empathize with that. Some folks at the commission are very familiar with what it takes to open and run a small business. Thinking of you, Vice Chair, and your prior experience as a business owner. And so it is not lost on us at the commission, the heart that you bring to your work, nor is it lost on us the urgency that you feel for getting your businesses up and running. The commission is required to do its due diligence in reviewing and processing the applications we receive. And we do know that some businesses are within their own judgment are deciding to go ahead and build out their facilities or otherwise prepare to launch their operations while the application is pending. So we are aware that that is happening. It is not required. Businesses can submit an application without doing construction work. We understand the financial investment that is entailed when businesses do decide to move their their business operations along before getting licensed by the commission. But I do want to call attention to the fact that, yes, we understand the urgency that business owners are feeling, much of it rooted in the statutory requirements of regulations. And also, there's urgency in the fact that these are your lives, right? These are your lives, your well-being, your economic health, your ability to provide for yourself and your family. And so the commission is working as quickly as it can to get through the applications it has. And we hope to give you response. Anybody who is still waiting on responses to an application, we do hope to get to you soon. Please make sure that you are checking your spam folders, checking your voicemail, checking your email. There are a number of businesses that haven't responded to outreach from the commission to cure any deficiencies. So make sure that you are keeping tabs on communication from us. So with that, that concludes the business that we have before us today. And so I move that we adjourn. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Vice Chair Delgado. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion to adjourn? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of adjourning say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion passes. The time is 3:34 and we are adjourned. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.